Megan Hicks of I Run Far, and I'm here at the...
We're in the woods.
We're in the woods. We're in the woods somewhere.
This is actually, I mean, we're really close to Muir Woods.
We are.
Yeah.
The National Forest or National Park is just over the hill that way.
Yeah. But it still feels, it has that same ambiance.
It does.
Yeah.
I'm with Max King. It's the day before the North Face Endurance Challenge 50-mile championships. This is your second time at this race, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Pretty good. I mean, you know, coming in with a little bit of experience here and stuff, I know what to expect a little bit more and how I totally failed last time. And, so, yeah, and I've had a really good training block. You know, it's not like I haven't raced much in the past 3 months. And so just kind of coming in feeling a little bit better about training and stuff like that. So, you know, it's one of those things where you never know how it's going to go and you just kind of see, but training's been good, so I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I want to start by asking you about your first experience here. I mean, you're a guy who races all different distances, all different disciplines, but there are certain things that you do return to. And this is a race you're coming back to.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's because it's got a couple things that I really look for in races. I mean, it's a beautiful course.
Yeah.
It's got really good competition, and I failed the first time. so
I have motivation.
I do. I definitely, like, if I don't do well at a race, there's always that, you know, that encouragement to come back, and the motivation to come back to it and see if you can train a little bit better, smarter, and then race it a little bit more up to your potential. So
I feel like this is a unique course to have as a sort of a championship, highly competitive event. It's got a ton of runnable terrain, but it's also got a fair bit of climbing and descending. Like, when you look at the course as a whole body, what do you think of it? Like, what do you think about your strengths and weaknesses on it?
I mean, I think you're right. Like, it's got a lot of varying terrain, so it makes a really good championship course because it's going to play really well toward, like, mountain runners
Yeah.
who, you know, maybe not it doesn't have a lot of technical stuff, but it's got a lot of climbing in it. But it's all pretty runnable, and so you do need to have both aspects of that in your quiver, I guess. And you need to be able to run, you need to be able to climb, and that climbing is something that I've really not been able to do very well in the past. And it's like I can do a running race that's flat, and I do really well at that, and that's kind of my strengths. And so, you know, it's trying to, in training, figure out how to better prepare yourself for all that climbing as well. And so that's what I'm hoping, you know, that I've done this time, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Well, Strava says you've been busy training,
Yeah.
and Strava says you have found some altitude change.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the specifics of your training, some of the key workouts?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to just add in more climbing this fall, but I mean, that I've done before. What I tried to do this fall, actually, that I've changed in my training, is specific strength work focused on running climbs faster. And so I've been doing a lot of heavy lifting and getting in the gym twice a week consistently because I haven't really been racing, and really kind of focusing on getting stronger, and along with doing the high mileage and the hills and the climbing and stuff. And so that's what I'm hoping has kind of changed in my training to get me more prepared for this race. And I mean, we'll see, but you know, it's like I had a great training block in there of, you know, where I was running 120 miles a week and climbing 20 to 30,000 feet a week, just with some really good long runs, where I've had, you know, some long runs of 7,000 feet of vertical, or 10,000 feet of vertical, stuff like that. So
In 2013, the competition was pretty robust. It was a pretty deep field. They obviously went out hard. Like, there's a big group of dudes going out hard. I kind of anticipate the same thing happening. When you look back at strategically how you approached the field and the race in 2013, are you going to make any sort of strategic game day changes?
yes, I know everybody's going to watch this video.
So I'm not going to tell you.
No,
I actually plan on.
it will change, more because of, like, who's in the race, I think, than anything. In 2013, you saw Rob Crard kind of sits back a little bit, and Sage and stuff, and and nobody was really pushing from the front. I had kind of anticipated this time, like Zach Miller is just going to be boom off the front and see you later. Okay, I've got to keep up with you in order to be there at the end. So that's going to change the dynamics, I think, just because of who's in the race. I don't know everybody's racing style, and so but he's pretty consistently like that, and so we'll see. Like he's probably gonna listen to this and think, "Ha, I got you. I'm not gonna do that this time.
I'm gonna sit right
I'm gonna
by you.
sit behind you." So I don't know. It's like I'd rather not go out hard, but if we do go out hard, it's not like I'm not prepared for it and can't handle it. Like I've had those types of races too. I've had both types of races in a 50 miler, and done well both ways, and I've done poorly both ways. So yeah, I think I don't know. For me, like this. What I've noticed is the training can be there, and I've had the training there for good races and bad races, and that's been pretty consistent. But what has not been consistent is like the taper, and so what I've noticed is like, okay, so for a short distance race, I've nailed the taper. I know what I'm doing, and that comes from a lot of experience in college and post collegiate running and stuff. And then I get into ultras, especially 50 miler, and I'll taper how I feel like I need to taper, and usually I go back to what I was doing in college and stuff, and those same types of principles, and whether it's a good race or not is more like a 50-50 chance, and it's really weird. I have not figured out, and I have not nailed that taper and figured out like how to actually do that taper so that I'm more consistent in my ultras. Very consistent in like steeplechase, cross country. I can go out if the training's there. I have a good race, and I know that about probably 95% of the time. But an ultra, it's like more like 50%. I just have not figured out why that is.
It's interesting. You've been at it for a couple of years, and the taper's still an experiment.
It is, and a lot of it's like people just don't know really what to do, and there's so many different things going on in the ultra world right now as far as training goes of people doing different things, which is really interesting to me. How one person has a completely different training regimen than I do, but yet similar or good results, similar results,
and like opposing tapers, like the
totally different
taper down, but then ramp back up, like totally anti tradition.
Or basically go hard and long until the day of the race,
right?
And it's like, shoot, who knows? I don't know. I don't know how or what the body's doing to get ready, like what you need to do to get ready for an ultra race. For a short distance race, it's taper off quantity, and your mileage goes way down. You keep the intensity higher, and you're ready to go on race day. But for an ultra, I don't know. Well, I mean,
experiment in progress.
It's still an experiment. That's what's interesting about the sport right now.
I want to ask you about, because in my mind, this race always attracts. I don't want to call them randoms, but they are randoms, kind of like new arrivals to the sport, or a couple of road runners who want to see what running an ultra is like, want to experience the competition, think that they can come and do pretty well. There's like a huge passel of recent from college guys who haven't run 50 miles or who've maybe run one 50 miler. The quantity of them, many more this year than previous years. Do you think that's going to change how this race goes?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them, if they're coming from a track background, like I was at one point, that pace just feels slow and easy. And so shoot, I might as well push from the front, and they go off the front. And I think it kind of plays to their strengths a lot more in like a race like JFK, like a flatter race, where you're really trying to use some leg speed and turnover. Doesn't work as well here, and so those guys that either go off the front and they don't have the experience, they end up blowing up, or they stick with the pack because they're smart and they just don't have the strength to climb all the hills. They don't have that leg strength built in yet, and that climbing ability, and so it's difficult. This race in particular, I think, is difficult for somebody that's new to the sport to come out and actually have a really good race. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's more difficult in this race than it is in some of the other, like just a flatter ultra. Legs can handle the distance. It's the climbing and stuff that they can't handle.
Well, last question for you. There's also another race going on this weekend, the Xterra Trail Running World Championships. That's a race you have a relationship with too.
Yeah.
How'd you decide your battle?
It's, well, ever since I started Xterra and started running ultras at the same time, it's always been a kind of a choice.
Yeah.
And I did Xterra for 5 years, and I just wasn't really quite ready for that 50-mile distance yet. And now that I've moved up, I think this is more not in my wheelhouse, but it's more the direction I'm going.
Okay.
And there's more incentive to be here now at this point in my career than there is to be at Xterra. Not saying I won't go back to Xterra though. I'd love to go back to Xterra, and so some year if I'm not running this, I'll probably end up doing that. And it's like I need to do CIM at some point.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I've never run that marathon, but I'm kind of from Sacramento. Live there during the summers and stuff. So at some point I've got to do CIM too.
Yeah.
When I'm still doing marathons. So.
Stop scheduling races.
There's
for the
always
first
too many
weekend in
races this
December.
weekend.
You guys spread things out.
Yeah. But I mean, this is like, it's close to home. It's a beautiful race. It's a 50-miler, which, you know, I'm kind of moving in that direction now, and super competitive. So why not? You know,
Why not?
if I'm ready for it. So
Well, best of luck to you tomorrow.
thanks.
We look forward to seeing you out there.
All right, thanks.
Bonus question, Max.
Uh-oh.
You said after you won the 2014 Warrior Dash World Championship that you used your huge payday to put up solar panels.
Yeah.
You won the 2015 Warrior Dash World Championship. You earned another 30 grand.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do this time?
I don't know. I've totally been trying to figure that out. And like we did the solar panels last year, and that was awesome. I really want to like put it towards something good. I honestly have not figured it out yet.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be, but it might just kind of go in a bank account for now, and I don't know.
We'll
Might
see.
be part of my retirement.
Well, that's another important thing
Yeah,
too.
I know.
Okay, thanks,
Yeah.
Max.
Yeah.